Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm giving you my September TBR, which is also my TBR for the Magical Readathon. If you've been a part of the bookish community for a while, you might know about the Magical Readathon. This is a readathon that's hosted by G from Book Roast and she always puts a lot of thought and work in it. But last year she decided to put it on pause because the Magical Readathon used to be all about Harry Potter, it used to be about Hogwarts. But after everything went down with J.K. Rowling last year and she revealed herself to be quite transphobic and hateful, G decided that she didn't want to host a readathon that was entirely about Harry Potter anymore because she didn't feel comfortable with being attached to Harry Potter, to J.K. Rowling in that way, and she told everyone that she was going to come up with a new and improved way to host a Magical Readathon. And then a few weeks ago she came out with the Magical Readathon Orilium, and it is absolutely amazing. It is beyond anything I've ever seen in a readathon before, because G made up her own magical world. She made up an entire world for a readathon alone. She made up lore for this fantasy world. She made up all these different races who live within this world and an origin story, a story behind why magic exists in this world. And it's absolutely amazing. I am completely blown away by it. I'm not going to go into the details here because it's a lot and I don't want this video to be that long and I couldn't explain it anywhere near as good as G does, so I'm going to leave her video up above and down below. So if you're interested in this readathon and you want to know more about this and about the whole world behind it, you can watch that video. I highly recommend that you do because, like I said, it's amazing. But the short version of it is that there is a world, a magical world called Eldia, I'm not entirely sure. Within this world there is one land, country, I'm not sure, called Orilium, and on Orilium there is a magical academy. And in April of next year we're going to start attending the Magical Academy of Orilium. But in order to be able to do that, to be deemed worthy, we're going to have to do something else. First, in September, I'm going to grab the other paper I printed out. She made all of this, or had someone make it, I'm not sure, but it's amazing. That was upside down. But in order to be able to attend Orilium and do the readathon in April, we're going to have to do the Novice Path. We have to prove ourselves, we have to show that we are pure of heart and that we are worthy of attending Orilium Academy. And to do so we're going on a journey on the Novice Path, and during that journey we're going to encounter 7 different obstacles, and those are going to be the prompts for the readathon. So we've got the Novice Path, the Ash Thorn Tree, the Mist of Solitude, Ruin of the Sky, Obsidian Falls, Tower of Rumination and Orilium Arc, which is the entrance to Orilium Academy. So that's amazing. Like I said, there are 7 obstacles and those are 7 prompts, but to complete the readathon, to be deemed worthy, you only have to complete 2 prompts, so read 2 books. I am going to try to read 7 books for the readathon because I really like this. I really want to fulfill all of the prompts, but we'll see how far I get, so I'm very glad that 2 is enough as well. So there is no pressure. And another aspect of this readathon is that you're going to create a character with which you'll attend Orilium Academy. And for that there are also 3 prompts, but you can fulfill those before April 2022. So I'm going to do all of that later this year or at the start of next year. But I do know that I want to be an Earthling character, that I want to be from the province or land called Eartheria. Yes, Eartheria. And that I'm going to be a wildling, so I'm going to be from the country and not live in a city. That's what I've decided, but I'm not sure yet what books I'm going to read for those prompts, for those characteristics of my character. Anyway, that's enough of that. Like I said, please go watch that video if you're in any way interested in this, because it's so cool and G deserves all the credit and all the praise for it. She made up an entire world for a readathon, and I could see books being written about this world, so I think it's just really cool. But now I'm going to go into my TBR. I've got the prompts here. First off, we've got the Novice Path entrance, and for that I need to read a book with a map. And for that I've chosen the most intimidating book on my TBR for the entire year, or just in my bookcase in general, and that is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. I have already started this, I am on page 90. I started this in August, but then I stopped reading when I decided I wanted to read this for the Magical Readathon. It has a map in it of a monastery, of the abbey, so that's right there, not your usual fantasy map, but it is a map, so I'm counting it. This book is almost 600 pages long, I think. The story is 538 pages long, and it's also very dense and difficult and complex, so Is it a good choice to read for a readathon? I'm not sure, but it is on my list of 10 books to read in 2021, so I do have and want to read it this year. So I'm just putting it on there, and I think I'm going to read this during the entire month and read all of the other books alongside it and just see how far I get. This is also why I'm glad that you don't have to read 7 books for this readathon. But to just quickly tell you what this is about, this is a modern classic from the 1980s, I think, and this book takes place in the 14th century in an Italian abbey. There are quite some political struggles going on concerning different types of Christianity, I think. And then in this abbey there are bizarre deaths, and one of the brothers that we're following turns detective to solve the murders, to solve the mystery. So that's very exciting, and I'm excited to read this. Next up we've got Ash Thorn Tree, a book that keeps tempting you, or a book that is at the top of your TBR. And for that I've chosen Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown. This was on my TBR for a readathon I did in July, but I didn't get to it then, so I think that's definitely a book that is at the top of my TBR. I've been wanting to read this for a while. It is about a girl called Echo Brown who lives in Cleveland. I remembered that it was not New York and that I thought it was New York, but it's Cleveland. And she is from a poor side of town, I think, but then she starts going to school on the rich side of town. And I think it's about Echo as she balances these two lives. And it's also a magical realism book. There are portals, I think, that Echo travels between. It says here it's the remarkable story of a teenage wizard, and I love magical realism books. I've heard very good things about this, so I'm really excited to read it. Up next we've got The Mist of Solitude, read a standalone novel, and for that I've chosen Asymmetry by Lisa Halliday. This is another book that is on my list of 10 books to read before the end of 2021. So I'm glad that I was able to fit this on this TBR. I don't really know that much about this book. I know that it was very well received. I think it's a debut novel, and I know that my boyfriend read it and really enjoyed it. It says here that it is about Alice, who is a young editor, and she begins an affair with Ezra Blazer, a world-famous, much older writer. And I think there's also a different storyline, or a second part of the book that is about a different character. And I also think that Lisa Halliday herself had a relationship with a much older writer, so it might be partly autobiographical, or at least based on her own experience, I think. This has been on my TBR for a while, so I'm looking forward to finally reading it in September. Next up we've got Ruin of the Sky, read a book featuring ghosts or a haunted house or other supernatural elements. And for that I've chosen a short story by H.P. Lovecraft, which is in this collection, The Call of Cthulhu and Other Weird Stories. This is one of my boyfriend's books. I gifted this to him because he loves playing Arkham Horror, the card game, and that game is based on H.P. Lovecraft's stories, I think. The only reason why I'm reading this, it's not because I really want to read this story. It's called The Whisperer in Darkness. I have no idea what it's about. I just know that it has supernatural elements, and I know that it has the word dark in the title. And for the Buzzword Reading Challenge, I have to read a book with the word dark in the title in September. So that's how I ended up with this story for this prompt. Like I said, I have no idea what it's about. I have never read anything by Lovecraft before. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. I'm kind of curious to read the story and find out what I think of H.P. Lovecraft stories, so I guess you'll hear about it in my September wrap-up. Next up there's Obsidian Falls, read a mystery or a thriller book, and for that I've chosen Murder on the Links by Agatha Christie. I just know that it is the second book in the Poirot mystery books. I read the first one, which was, I can't think of the title now. If I'll remember, I'll put it down here. I really enjoyed it, I remember it that much. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was my very first Agatha Christie, and I've been wanting to read Agatha Christie's books for a very long time. I read that first one last year, and I'm still trying to think of the title, but it really is not coming to me. But I enjoyed it, and I've been wanting to continue with the series, the Poirot series. They are very short books, so they're easy to get through, and they're perfect for including in a readathon like this. The Murder on the Links is set on a golf course, I think. There is a murder that happened on a golf course, I think, and then Poirot has to solve it. Next up we've got Tower of Rumination, read a 5-star prediction, and for this I've got 2 options. I had 5 of them, 5 options before filming this video, but I managed to narrow it down to 2. But I'm just going to decide later on in the month which one I want to read based on my mood or based on how much time I've got left, because this one is quite big, this one is quite thin. The first option is The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin, which is a science fiction novel about a man who can change reality through his dreams, I think. And I love stories about dreams. I've been wanting to read something by Ursula K. Le Guin for a while, and this one sounded really good. It's not very long, but I'm not familiar yet with Ursula K. Le Guin's writing style, so I don't know if it's an easy read or if it's going to take a bit more focus and concentration. We'll see. I really want to read this before the end of the year, so maybe I'll get to this one. But the other one is one I'm also very excited about, and that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is very popular. It came out this year. This is the author of Daisy Jones and the Six and Evelyn Hugo. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I should say, that's the full title. Both are books that are very well loved on BookTube and the book community in general, and this one has been very well received as well. This book takes place over one day in 1983. It's about the children of a rock star called Mick Riva, who was also a character in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. He has 4 children, I think they're all grown up, and they throw a party and things go down. That's all I know. I've heard very good things, so I'm excited to read this, but it is quite a big book. Well, not that big actually, it's not even 400 pages, so we'll see what I'm in the mood for when I get to this prompt in the month. And then at the end of the Novice Path we get to Orilium Academy arc, which is the end point of this readathon and the starting point, I imagine, of the next one in April. And for that you have to read a book with a school setting, and for that I've chosen Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This is the 3rd book in the Nevermore series, which is a middle grade series about Morrigan Crow, who lives quite an awful life until she is swept away by a man called Jupiter North to a magical city called Nevermore. That's basically the premise of the first book. Things happen in the first book, more things happen in the second book, quite a lot of things happen, and then we're at the 3rd book. I'm not going to say anything about the plot, but I really loved the first book and I really liked the second book as well, so I'm really excited to read the 3rd book. I've had a copy of it for a few weeks now, maybe a few months even, and I've been eyeing it for a while, so I'm really excited to be able to pick it up in September. And that's it for my TBR for September for the Magical Readathon. I'm really excited about this readathon. I'm so happy it's back and in this incredible way. It seems like it's going to be a really fun month. G also said something about things going on Twitter or Discord, a story type element that will have you making choices, and your choices will influence your readathon in April, I think, or how you're going to start Orilium Academy. Sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to reading the books for the prompts that will establish my character, but I'll catch you up on that later on when I've read those later this year or early 2021, like I said. In the comments down below, please let me know if you're participating in this readathon. Do you already have your character picked out? If you're not participating, what are you reading in September? Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me in the future, and have a wonderful day. Bye!